Hi, everyone. Welcome to another edition of Divorce-a-Palooza. What should I do with my wedding rings after divorce? It's a common question. No one really knows. You didn't get married and plan on getting divorced. So for me, I remember that my ring sat in a drawer for probably a few years. And then I just didn't think about it. And then I was going through a time in my life where I wasn't working yet and I needed some extra money to like pay some bills and expenses. And I decided, you know what? I think I'm ready to part with these. And it was like 2010, maybe 11. And I didn't really know anyone. And I went into a friend of mine who owns a jewelry store, and she said to me, listen, I would love to help you with this, but I don't feel like I can give you a fair price. It's not going to be what you would get. I wouldn't even feel comfortable. So I said, okay, thanks for the honesty. And then I looked online and I found this company called MJ Gabel. And I sold my rings to MJ Gabel. And I was so happy. I really took a chance because I didn't know them. And I just trusted the universe. I sent them my ring in an insured envelope that they sent me. I then they made me an offer. Thought it was fantastic. I accepted it. They sent me a check. Now they do it electronically, but back then they sent me a check and it was a great experience. So now, MJ Gabel is a divorced girl smiling, trusted professional. And with me today is the co-founder, Anne Gabel. Hi, Anne.
Hi, Jackie.
What'd you think of my story? Was it pretty accurate as you remember it?
100%. Yeah, that's how I remember it. Yeah.
Now, since 2011, you and Matt, your husband, have
hmm
really grown the business. And
Yes.
and so I was so excited to have you guys as a divorced girl smiling partner because I want everyone to have the same good experience with people you can trust and get a really good amount for your ring. So
Sure. Yeah.
tell me, Anne, in your experience working with like dozens, hundreds maybe of people getting divorced and giving you their rings to sell,
hmm
when is the right time? Like, what do you tell people when they call you and they say, like, I'm thinking of selling my ring, but I'm not sure?
What I tell people, I'm very, very blunt about it these days. I used to kind of tiptoe around it a lot more, but I found that just 100% honesty is the best way to address this question. It is 100% a personal decision that only you can make if you are contemplating selling them. What I reassure people is that 99% of the time, your rings are the last thing to go in a divorce or a breakup. They're also the physical object that tends to hold the most emotional and sentimental value to them, which is why they're the last to go. So, what I tell people is if you feel like if you leave the door today, like you walk out of my office, hypothetically, you know, if you're in my office and we're talking about this and you leave
Or
the
over
rings
the
with me,
phone?
yep, whatever. If envision yourself leaving the rings with me and walking out the door, and I call you in an hour and tell you that they're gone, they're sold. Are you going to be okay with that? Like, are you going to be okay never seeing these rings again? Is really what it comes down to. And if the answer to that is, oh, I'm not really sure, then it's not the right time. Like, you have to be ready to never see these rings again.
See, and what I tell people is that, you know, divorce is so emotional. And you
hmm
might have loved your ring. Remember in Sex and the City when Charlotte got divorced, she was walking
Yes.
around her apartment in her
With the
ring,
ring.
and
Yes.
Carrie was like, "Why is that your wedding ring? Why are you
Right. What are
wearing
you
it?" She's like,
doing?
"I just want
Yeah.
to wear it. I just want to wear it."
Yeah.
That's okay.
hmm
But Anne, I love that you're being honest because once they're sold, they're sold.
They're
But let's
sold.
talk about like the good part. Let's talk about what can come of you selling your rings and what you can actually do with that money.
Oh,
because
yeah.
sitting in a drawer is no
Is
good.
doing you nothing. No,
Right.
and I have find the feedback that we always get. We've never had someone come to us or come back to us or when we've called them to say that the ring is sold or we buy it from them and they call nobody's ever called back or like been upset they've sold us their ring. The majority of people, the reaction is there is a huge weight that has just been lifted off my shoulders that you don't even realize that you're carrying around with you. um
It's almost like you're scared to do it, like jump off a
mhm.
cliff. But
Yep.
once you do it and you land in the water,
It's like, oh my gosh, this
it's
wasn't that
done.
bad. Yes.
Mhm.
And now I have this money that I can invest. I can take my family on a trip. I can do something for myself that I've wanted to do. I can go buy a handbag. I can, whatever it is,
Anything, anything.
anything.
So we've done a lot of podcasts talking about like what people do with the money they
Mhm.
get from their rings. Okay. So like some of the things I wrote an article once for the Chicago Tribune, my old column Love Essentially, and it was like what 34 women did with their rings. And I put a
Mhm.
message out on Facebook and asked divorced people, what did you do with your ring? And then I revealed all the answers in the column
Yeah.
and some of them were I bought boobs. Another person
Yep.
said, I paid for my divorce lawyer.
Yes. That's a
Another
common one. Yeah.
person, I went back to school.
Hmm.
Um, Another person, I got a new car. Another
Hmm.
person, I invested the money. So
Hmm.
this was a whole separate article. I did another one on if you took, let's say your ring was worth $5,000, you put it in the market has averaged over 7% per year for the
Hmm.
last like 10 years. So now your money will double in
Hmm.
a few years if
Yep.
you just keep it in there and forget about the
Just
five.
don't, right, pretend like it's not even there. That's the thing. It's been in your drawer for this amount of time and you've forgotten about it up to this point. You know what I mean? You might as well put the money to something good.
Right. Okay, I want to go to a couple more things that people did with their rings, and then I
Hmm.
want to get to the process.
Yeah.
So, a couple more things people said they did was one girl said, "Oh, I found out mine was a fake."
Yeah.
Another
That can
person said, "I
happen.
didn't even get a ring." Um,
Hmm.
Somebody else said, I donated it. I took the money and donated it to a women's shelter.
Yep.
So if you want a tax deduction and your
Yeah.
rent's only worth like a couple thousand and you don't really need the money, take the
Hmm.
tax deduction and do
That's a
something you're
great,
going to
yep.
feel great about.
Hmm.
So, any other things, Anne?
A lot of trips. We have a lot of people fund like an overseas trip. I've had women take a trip with their sister to Scotland. You know what I mean? Going on a cruise. Like a lot of people take that money and make new memories out of, that thing that was not such a great memory. You know what I mean? They're taking the money and creating something new.
I love it. Okay,
Hmm.
I want to get into MJ Gabel's process because when I was a client of yours, Anne, I
Hmm.
basically, you had at the beginning, I want to tell everybody watching, MJ Gabel was just starting out when I worked with them. Now
Yeah,
it's been,
we were probably only 2 years old maybe at the time. We
Mhm.
were a newer company. Matt and I had been in the gold business for a while, but we had just kind of started working with diamonds and finished goods.
Okay, so now it's been what, like 14 years?
Yeah, we're coming up on 15 years.
Okay, and two kids later.
2 kids later. Hmm.
And so I just want to tell everybody watching, these guys are really trustworthy. So a couple options. When I sold my ring, it was like send it to Matt and Ann. They made me an offer, they sent me a check. Now there's
Hmm.
three different things you can do, right, Ann? So
Yeah.
tell everybody watching what the options are.
Sure. So one, like Jackie said, we can make you an offer. We can buy the piece outright or pieces. It doesn't just have to be a ring. It can be bracelets, earrings, necklaces, anything. Number two would be an auction environment. We can auction the pieces for you. There's no obligation to sell with our auctions, so it's not like we set a reserve and then if it sells at that price, it's gone. It's incremental, the bidding system, and then you review the option or the highest offer that's come in on the piece, and then you can either accept or decline. So it's all under your control. Um, And then we can consign the pieces as well. That's the way to get the most value back out of your pieces. What we're doing is we're refinishing them to brand new condition, and then basically we're taking over the selling process for you, using our tools, our experience, our expertise, all those things to find a new home for them.
Okay, so if you're watching this and you're not in a rush and you don't care when your ring sells, consign it because you're going to get the
100%.
most money. But Anne,
Mhm.
what's the time frame? When do you give up if it doesn't sell?
Oh, you don't ever have to give up. So
No, I
if
know, but like, I know there's no
yeah, so
average time something sells, but
yeah, I would say the average is 2 to 4 months to get a high premium. We can always lower the price if it starts taking too long, or we can pivot. We can move into an auction environment, or we can always just buy the piece outright. So we can move as fast or as slow as you want.
so I would tell everybody watching, here's another great thing about MJ Gable. It's not one of these platforms that's all online. You can actually call Matt and Ann and have a
Hmm.
conversation. Have this conversation. Say, well, what should I do? Ann's going
Hmm.
to ask you all these questions. Are you in a rush for the money? How
Hmm.
much do you care? Do you feel like you're really ready to sell it? And then you get personalized service. So it's kind of the same thing as walking into their store. And if you live in
100%.
upstate New York, you can actually walk into their store.
Absolutely. Hmm.
So, oh my gosh, Anne, thank you so
Hmm.
much for being on Divorce-a-Palooza. I love this conversation.
So do I, Jackie. Thank you for the chance.
And to everyone watching, it's mjgable.com. And you can also find them in the trusted professional section of Divorced Girl Smiling. Thanks so much for watching, everyone.